It comes down to choices. It comes down to tradition. It comes down to values. What are yours?
Do the death threats bother you? Do they seem real? Or is it losers in their basements?
A lot of people that are mad at Jews, it's just because they're ghetto and jealous.
You go back to Israel to visit Gaza. What are you seeing?
It was like the first time I ever looked evil directly in the eye.
You've said it makes sense for Black and Jewish communities to stand together. Why do you feel that way?
Being Black in America in 2026 is one of the greatest things to ever happen to me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome to the show, episode 69. What we have for you today is a story of rapid and dramatic transformation. Just a few years ago, my guest was a card-carrying Bernie Bro, a BLM booster, a classic young liberal with dreams of changing the world one gender-neutral bathroom at a time. Cut to a few short years later, he's now a professional Republican. Invitations to the White House, appearances on Fox News, dragging everyone and everything that's not tied down, and most importantly for this show, speaking up loudly in support of Israel and the Jewish people, even going so far as to visit Gaza himself during the war. He's provocative, he's hilarious, he's impeccably dressed, and he's here to tell you everything you're doing wrong, respectfully. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Xaviaer DuRousseau.
Wow. That was the greatest intro I've ever heard.
Thank you.
It's always so mortifying to this day when people are like, oh, he used to support Bernie Sanders. I was like, why was I so young and dumb?
Because you were young.
And broke?
You know, I get it. That makes sense. I think that probably describes a lot of Bernie bros, right?
It's been a long journey. I will say, though, I was never on the bathroom thing.
I know. I just needed the line, but I knew that wasn't you.
You know, because some people assume that. There was one time in my life where I said Latinx, referring to a Latina, and it was actually one of my most progressive friends who's a Latina. She looked at me, she goes, if you ever say that again, I will never speak to you. I was like, oh. Yeah. I was like, okay, period.
So let's talk about this transformation. It's a perfect place to start. Tell me the story.
So if we go all the way back.
Let's do it.
So I am from the trenches of Chicago, and then I moved to the middle of nowhere cornfields of central Illinois. So my family often was telling me that I needed to view everything through the lens of race. So growing up, it's like I have a lot of Marxist family members. I have a lot of far left family members.
That's extreme.
Yeah, I have uncles and cousins who would say things like white people are blue-eyed, redheaded devils, all of that. Now, I was never extreme, but I did always view things through the lens of I need to, assert my blackness. I need to do all these different things. I need to go with these different causes because I thought I was just supposed to. And years go by, I was that activist in high school who was putting posters all over the walls. In college, I was like fighting for all type of, racial issues, social justice issues, some of which I'm like, okay, I did what I had to do. And some of it, I'm mortified looking back on it. And when 2020 came along, at that point, I had already been just this vocal BLM activist for years. And I was bored during the pandemic, literally just bored.
Yeah.
And as a joke, my roommate I had at the time, his girlfriend told me that I should apply to be on this show called The Circle on Netflix, where the premise is basically like, it's like Big Brother a little bit. It's a popularity contest, but in that one, you don't meet each other. So as a joke, I made the video, I applied. Out of 25,000 people, I ended up being one of the people selected to either be on season 2 or 3. And my whole character was supposed to be a catfish, a woke white sorority girl named Samantha, who goes on there and teaches people how to be a progressive activist online. So basically my life and my views, but from the perspective of a blonde white girl.
Okay.
Let me prepare my whole life of becoming this political activist after I get off of this show. And I decided I was going to make a whole series where I was debunking organizations like PragerU, where I now work. I was going to debunk all these different conservative voices that I respected. And I ended up accidentally debunking myself. And it was like I dismantled the entire narrative that I had been indoctrinated with, all because I researched without confirmation bias. So I backed out of the show, took a few more months to get my life together, and then I started speaking out.
If you can recall, what were some of the first dominoes to fall where you're like, whoa, this is not what I thought or was told, and that really, I guess, were consequential enough that you're like, I've been getting something seriously wrong here.
One of the biggest bricks that broke the camel's back, not even a feather or a straw, it was the fact that BLM was so fraudulent. And when I started seeing the behind the scenes of it, and I was helping organize on like a low level, and I was asking basic questions like, why are we having to pay for certain things? Why do we have people that are clearly going out of their way to cause problems and loot and to riot and do all these things? I was told I needed to shut up and fall in line. And then when I started looking into where the money was going, I started looking into organizations like Act Blue, and I started realizing like, oh, you're raising hundreds of millions of dollars and not a single dollar is going to a Black business, organization, or a victim of police brutality. And when you follow the money, you start to see the truth about their intentions. And I realized how circular a lot of that fraud was. So that immediately had me adverse. And then it just took me on this journey of figuring out, well, what else am I wrong about? What history have I been lied to about? And so many different things just started coming to the surface, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I walked away.
How did the conversation with your Marxist family go when you go, hey guys, have you seen this?
I had family members saying that I was a Klan member and a white supremacist. Still don't understand how that would benefit me. I was banned from coming to certain funerals because they didn't want a supremacist there. So I got a lot of backlash even from my family.
Where does the supremacist thing come from? Like what part of what you're saying reads to them in that way?
Simply because I voted for Trump. Coming
all the way from being a Bernie guy to I'm going to cast a vote for Donald Trump. Was that a difficult decision, or was it like once the switch got flipped, you were like, oh, I'm a Trump guy?
I have a hot take that the pipeline of a Bernie Sanders supporter to a Trump supporter is a lot more seamless than like a Kamala supporter or an AOC supporter to a Trump supporter.
Do tell.
The thing about Bernie Sanders is that I understand why he believes some of the things that he does. In a perfect world, democratic socialism actually could make sense, but it just would never work in most countries, especially not in America.
Right.
But with Bernie Sanders, he's anti-establishment. He knows that there's a problem with the swamp. He goes against the grain, and I can respect that. Mm-hmm. So I do feel like the pipeline from being a Bernie Sanders supporter to a Trump supporter is more seamless in that way, because President Trump, he's also about draining the swamp. He's also anti-establishment. He also came in with a whole drastically different approach. So when you look at the mindset that Bernie and Trump have, they're actually kind of similar.
Yeah, I see that.
And very drastically different than like an Obama-style Democrat who, the way everything that Obama believes in, his mindset, his approach to it, is just so drastically different from President Trump.
Yeah.
So by the time we got to 2020, I was like, okay, I see the vision with Trump now. I'm hearing him out.
What about the personality of a Trump, the degrading comments, the frauds, all of that stuff? Like, where does that play in the calculus for you?
That never really bothered me because here's the thing. I would rather have someone be very aggressively honest about who they are and very forthcoming than I have to find out later. I like someone that is a wolf and you see that wolf coming, not a wolf in sheep's clothing. And I already understand the game of politics and politicians. And even though at the time Trump wasn't he was the non-politician.
Right.
I understand that they have to put on a certain type of front. So I would rather have someone be authentic and offensively authentic than someone that's going to pretend like they love me and they love my community, but really they're just exploiting the struggle of Black people. And that's what I was seeing on the other side. It's like they were pretending like they cared so much about the Black community, but all they were doing was harnessing the dollars and the votes. And then once they got into office, what did they do for Black people?
When you say they, who do you mean? What did they do for Black people?
Like a Joe Biden or a Kamala Harris. It's like as soon as President Trump gets into office, everybody wants to talk about reparations. Why didn't they ask Miss Kamala about reparations? Why weren't they on Joe Biden's neck about what we're going to do in the Black communities? Meanwhile, you have President Trump, who did actually fight for a lot of policies that really helped the Black community, but he was someone that was trying to help all Americans. He was someone that was very blunt and honest about what needed to change and what needed to be elevated in the Black community. With Joe Biden, he just wants to talk about, oh my gosh, we have to fight systemic racism. It's like, okay, what is the racism? Is the racism in the room with us? What they would rather focus on this invisible boogeyman and pretend that they're fighting a cause than to actually get on the ground and do the work and make the policies that would help the community.
This dovetails nicely. So I know I saw a clip of you recently on Dr. Phil.
America is a free country, but this is not the United States of Section 8. It's not.
Talking out about student debt, like not forgiving student debt. The Biden administration wanted to forgive a lot of student debt, which disproportionately affects Black people. So that to me would be an example of a policy that would be helpful to a Black community, right?
See, I don't like when certain financial discussions become racial because socioeconomic and racial systemic issues are two separate things. Like, people try to make it seem like if you're not all in favor of widespread student loan forgiveness, that you're anti-Black. That's where the Democrats really lose me. But when it comes to that policy, when it comes to the student loan thing, One, I feel like there has to be some accountability, but I feel like the approach to student loans isn't just completely wiping it out, because if we wipe it out, all you're going to do is it's going to drive up tuition. It's basically every single time you make it easier for these colleges to charge an absorbent amount of money to take classes that you don't even need for your career, they're just going to up the tuition because they know that the government is going to bail you out.
Right.
But where the real solutions should be coming in when it comes to student loans, we should be actually discussing, the interest rates and having these students put into these predatory loans that they can't do anything about. There are real solutions there, but just saying like, oh, we're just going to get rid of student loans, that's not how money works.
Another thing that's happened under the Trump administration, unemployment for the black community has gone up more than for any other groups under Trump's economic policies. Does that worry you?
When we talk about the black community and we need more jobs there, what we need to do is we need to crack down on crime, because a lot of opportunity is completely driven out of black communities because there's so much crime there. You go to a black neighborhood and you see all these buildings that should be booming with businesses. It's prime location, should be prime real estate. But why would they want to be there when they're constantly getting robbed? Why would they want to be there when they're constantly dealing with liabilities and shootings and theft? That's how you end up losing all your businesses locally. I think back to San Francisco. I don't know if they still have it like this, but it got to the point where they made a law that theft under $900 was not going to be criminalized anymore. It's like, that's exactly how you lose businesses. And when you lose businesses, you lose jobs. So if we're going to have a conversation about employment and opportunity zones and all of that, I think we need to look at what the root of this issue is and why people don't have enough local opportunity around them.
So let's get back to the transformation story. One of the people who was part of your awakening was Candace Owens, who obviously is not the same Candace Owens now as she was when you were watching her PragerU video, however many years ago that was. Are you surprised at where she's ended up now?
I'm surprised it's gone this far. I wasn't surprised in the beginning. I am surprised now. First of all, when it comes to her anti-Semitic obsession, that to me was bizarre, but I saw that coming because of her association with Kanye. And I know that Kanye has a lot of association with various anti-Semitic characters. He flirts with like the whole Black Hebrew Israelite thing. So I knew it was only a matter of time before Candace Owens went down that route. And I'm friends with a lot of people in her orbit. So I knew that they were already on that route. Some of them are also public figures that haven't been public about their perspective on, the Jewish community. They still pretend to play nice with the Jewish community, but behind the scenes, they're just as anti-Semitic as her. You could argue that my career started as like a stan of Candace Owens. She was my biggest inspiration. She was like the ultimate person that red pilled me. She was the person that her videos were so truthful in 2020 that it made me so mad that I wanted to make the whole series debunking PragerU. And she was so supportive of me. I was a foundation member on her nonprofit Blexit for a while. I was always DMing her. She was DMing me. She was always liking my stuff, reposting my stuff. She featured me on her show just to be supportive.
Yeah.
It just makes me sad more than anything.
When you realized, okay, now I'm a conservative, was there a values shift for you, or was it realizing, no, my values are the same, I just like the way these people are going about it more than the other people?
Definitely the latter. I feel like I'm still all for equality. I'm still all for, helping people get a bag and be successful and thrive and be happy and healthy in this country. I just realized that the way I was going about it before was wrong. I hate racism now just as much as I did then, but I just realized that the racism wasn't coming from the direction that I thought it was back then.
Say more about that.
If we're keeping it all the way 1,000,
yeah,
if we're
let's
being
go.
so real about it, it's like if systemic racism exists now, the two groups that it's against are white people and Asians. If we're being so real about it, it's not happening to black people. Being black in America in 2026 is one of the greatest things to ever happen to me. I mean, come on now. It's like jobs have diversity quotas, affirmative action in college, and people are like, oh, but it helps white women. It's like, let's be so for real. Are the white women the one needing it? Are we being honest? There's so much bending over backwards for the black community and for the feelings of black people. And during campaigns, it's all about how can we cater to the black community. You are privileged to be black in America now. But then when you look over at white people, it's like white people are constantly demonized. White people are constantly like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you said that. I'm not allowed to say that. Who says that? If we're in such a racist country, why is it that black people are able to say and do what they want, but white people feel like they can't? Like, it's so hypocritical. But the Asians are the ones that I'm surprised don't speak out on it more. Because when you look at something like the SAT, the average Asian to go to the same school, the same program as a black person has to score like 250 points higher on the SAT than a black person because the bar is literally lowered. And I hate that for my community because we can't rise to low expectations. So I really hate this idea that black people have to be treated like we're handicapped and like everything has to be so low, because then what happens is black people still end up in a worse situation. When you have like a college, for example, that will admit a black person with significantly lower credentials, and then you also have them competing against an Asian that has way higher credentials, the black person, they're like a fish out of water. It's complete mismatch theory. Instead, what they should be doing is having that black student that maybe wants to get higher education, having them go to a university that's on par with their skill sets and abilities. When they go to a school that actually makes sense for them, they have a much better opportunity and much better chance of being able to thrive there, let alone survive.
What sort of response do you get from the black community with comments like that?
Honestly, a lot more of them agree with me than what people think. Black people are far from a monolith.
Of course.
When you are around the most hood of hood black people, they agree with me.
Yeah?
And that's the funny part. There is no group of people that loves President Trump, which is why I call him President Donald Jaquan Trump, more than black people in the hood. They are so pro-Trump because they can't stand the excuses. They can't stand the nonsense. They love somebody that is real and blunt and authentic and says exactly what they think. It tends to ironically be some of the more like upper middle class or like the more, the grad student black people that tend to be like, oh no, we have to talk about the systemic injustices because that's what they have been indoctrinated with for all these years while they're in education. So some of them, they'll try to push back, but then as soon as I say my argument, they're like, oh yeah, well, you just have to look at it with more nuance. And it's like, okay, let's put all the nuance on the table.
To introduce a little bit of the nuance, and to be clear, you don't believe there's no anti-black racism.
Oh, racism 100% exists. It's just not
and
a systemic
institutionally,
issue.
not systemic, nowhere.
In our government, for example, none. I don't believe that there's any. I think it's completely outlawed, at least against black people. Now, there are ways and loopholes that there's now discrimination, like I was saying, against white and Asian people. But when it comes to discrimination against black people, there's nothing in our laws that allows that. But is there racism in certain industries and subgroups? I do believe so.
So there's a lot of unconscious bias. People, I was just looking at a study where with hiring practices, with a black person and a white person, all things being equal, the white person will get hired.
Is it happening? Is it? I don't believe that's happening at all. I would like to see the receipts. And I want to see the lawsuits that would come with it if those studies are actually valid.
So you do this transformation because you realized, oh my gosh, I had all this stuff wrong. Do you ever think to yourself now, in the dead of night, oh my God, what if I have all this stuff wrong?
No.
Never. So how do you know?
Because I'm always researching, and I research without confirmation bias. And whenever there's a topic that I'm very outspoken on, it's something that I will research the counter arguments to. And at this point, I don't even need to research the counter arguments. As soon as I post, everybody's going to send me the counter arguments. So I'm able to see it very quickly. But yeah, now that this is what I've dedicated my life to, and I would say I don't dedicate my life to fighting for the right wing. I dedicate my life to fighting propaganda. I dedicate my life to fighting for truth. So now it's I do my thorough research, and I'm not afraid of disagreeing with the right wing.
No, I've seen it plenty of times from you. Yeah,
it's I will fight for my life. I will put my back against that wall and windmill the left, the right, the center, everybody to stand on what I believe in and what I see. So yeah, I don't believe that would ever happen again, where I would have a drastic switch again. But what I will say is that there have been times where I was wrong about something, and I will get online and I will tell my audience to be like, you know what? I don't think I was totally right about this.
All right, so let's shift gears now. Let's get to the not the only reason you're here, but clearly a reason you're here, which is your relationship to the Jewish community.
Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem, yes. So as I understand it, there was a fateful Shabbat dinner that you attended in 2023. Can you tell me about that dinner and what was so transformative about it for you?
I started at PragerU in 2023, and at that point, I wasn't a full personality yet. I just desperately wanted my foot in the door, and I took a marketing job there where I would get occasional opportunities to be on camera. And I hit it off with our CEO, Marissa Stripe, off the bat, and she asked me if I wanted to come to a Shabbat dinner, and I was like, sure. And I had no idea what that actually meant. I had to go on Google and see what is a Shabbat dinner.
You'd never heard the word before?
No.
Wow.
I had no idea. Like, I'm sure it was said around me before,
Right.
but like I never knew what it was.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up around Jewish people. There was maybe 3 Jewish kids I grew up with, and 2 of which I didn't know were Jewish until October 7th. So it's like I knew nothing about that in my little redneck cornfields. So when I went, I was like, wait, so y'all like have Thanksgiving dinner every single weekend? I was gagged. I was so blown away by the concept, them putting their phones away. It was so wholesome. I was so thrown. It was just like, this was so cool to me. And while I was there, I was just like learning like little basic things about Jewish people and like about the Jewish faith and how I was so blown away by things like, doesn't matter what synagogue you're in around the world, you're studying the same side of the Torah at the same time.
Yeah.
That to me blew my mind.
Well, I read that you said that in an interview, and that was the first time it occurred to me that like churches weren't that way.
Oh no.
That like everybody's reading different things when it's sort of whatever they want to talk about. I hadn't even thought about that.
It's a hot mess in the Christian church, no shade. But it's like it was just a unity that was so profound to me, considering the context of the history that Jewish people have been, dispersed all over the world for thousands of years. That was crazy to me. So then Marissa asked me while I'm there, she was saying how like I should come on her like family vacation and, be a +1 and go to Israel. And one thing about me, be careful inviting me somewhere because I will book a flight. Like I pulled up my Expedia and I was like, girl, tell me the dates. Like I will book that flight. And next thing I know, a couple months later, I'm in Israel.
Okay, so tell us about that trip. How was that?
So that was also mind-blowing for me because I didn't know a lot about Israel. Like basically what I knew, it was a biblical homeland, and that was about it. And I knew that, and I knew that I had a general understanding that Israel was often on defense and that a lot of people didn't like Israel, but I didn't know why. Like I didn't know the context. And I went there because I wanted to research it and learn it in real time. And everybody kept telling me that it was just going to be like this white country. I was expecting it to be just like all very Caucasian, and it was 50 Shades of Brown the second I landed.
Yeah.
And I'm like looking around the airport. I'm like, I'm hearing every language under the sun.
Yeah.
And I was just really shocked by the diversity of it. Then what I didn't know is that just like Israel has the best of everything. It has the best, the range of it. You have the best of the religious sites. It's the holy land for a reason. But then you also have the best of the turn up too, because the clubs are popping. So I was just having the time of my life. I'm learning the history. I'm enjoying myself. And it was a very unproblematic trip for the most part. And I post 2 photos. I post one photo on a camel. I found the only camel basically in all of Jerusalem. I hunted a camel down in Jerusalem to get on this, take a picture, and then I also posted in the Dead Sea. And those 2 photos got me so much backlash online where I started getting called, goyim and all these different insults I had never heard before. And I keep having to Google, be like, what are these people calling me? And I genuinely did not know that anti-Semitism was still a prevalent thing. And it got to the point where I had to start calling some of my Jewish friends, like shout out to Deborah Leah. I had to call her. And I'm like, girl, what is going on? Why is everybody so mad at me just for coming to Israel? And some of the people mad at me are claiming to even be Christians, which we all know their Bibles are dusty. They're not actual Christians. They're coming at me too. I'm like, I thought the Christians and the Jews, like, we were cool. Like, what's going on here? And then people started running me down, being like, yeah, like there's a lot of anti-Semitism here. And getting into like the propaganda. And I started thinking of, the Holocaust Museum that's in Israel. And I started putting the dots together of like, oh, this is how long this propaganda has been going on. This is how long that like, the historical beef, the spiritual beef, all of this is happening. But really what it came down to was that a lot of the people that are mad at Jews today, it's just because they're ghetto and jealous. And one of my notorious videos, and I've said it so many times and I'll say it again, it's like a lot of people that are anti-Semitic are just broke, bitter, ugly, and jealous. They are mad that Jewish people are successful. They're mad that the Jewish community is united. They're mad that the Jews got their shit together. Because with all the different things that the Jewish community has been through, they locked in. They're like, how do we make sure that we survive? How do we make sure that we're taking care of our brothers and sisters and cousins? The other communities need to be taking notes. And I feel like a lot of these people want to be so mad, whether we're talking about, other religions or other races, they want to be mad if they started taking notes.
Yeah.
About how the Jewish community has survived all this time and been strong for all this time. And then people are like, well, why are so many Jewish people CEOs? Choices. Why are so many black people in jail? Choices. Why are so many, why don't people say that about the other races too? All these different groups and their habits and their stereotypes and the situations that they're in, whether it's good or bad. It comes down to choices. It comes down to tradition. It comes down to values. what are yours?
That's it. That's the whole show.
If somebody has what I want, I'm going to take notes. I'm not going to have this scarcity mindset. Like, if you see someone driving in a Lamborghini down the street, are you the person that's hating on them because they have more money than you? Or are you the person that's like, okay, that's cool. I want to know how they got there.
Right.
And also, shout out to them for buying that Lamborghini, because not only are they happy, but they just put food on the table of everybody that was involved in the process of creating, transporting, cleaning, etc. on that Lamborghini. So it's like, it's a very different mindset. And I've never been someone with that poverty mindset, even as someone who grew up adjacent to poverty. It's just so weird to me to see people be such haters, but it is what it is.
The hate that you get from the Israel Post, and just sort of in general, like who you getting it from the most?
I would say for a while it was like the alt-right, because I'm a firm believer in the horseshoe theory. The further left and the further right you go, they have the same energy, just a slightly different genre.
Yeah.
You know, so for a while it was them. It was the Nick Fuentes crowd. It was the Tucker Carlson people. It was all of them. But also, and it also depends on the app. So it's like on Twitter, it's going to come from the alt-right. On TikTok, it's coming from the people who think that Jews are all white supremacists. So it comes from both sides of the aisle.
Do you get like constructive engagement from some of these folks, like people that you enjoy or are like, you know, respectfully disagreeing with you and sparring with you on stuff?
You know, I get some of that too, but honestly, I just don't check for it. I don't really care. Like, I'm at the point now where it's like, I'm just going to stand on my business regardless. I'll interact with some comments, some DMs, and then I go and I live my life and have my peace of mind. Because, you know, the advice that I always give to new creators is, without becoming totally numb, you have to at least be neutral about the love just as much as you're neutral with the hate. Because when you're constantly getting hate, if you're focusing too much on that, then it's going to demoralize you. But if you're also focusing too much on the love, then when some of those people turn on you or you say something that they don't like suddenly, then the fall from grace of someone being like, oh my gosh, you never miss. Oh my gosh, you always get it. You're always on point, to suddenly, I always knew you were a fraud. How dare you? It's like, I can't be worried and dealing with that either. So instead of just being on this roller coaster of engaging with the love and the hate, I'm just neutral. If you like what I have to say, great. If you don't, cool. Let's talk about it, or you can talk about it amongst yourselves.
So you go back to Israel during the war to visit Gaza.
Yes.
Tell me how that comes about, and then tell us like what you saw. What was that experience beyond, you know, the clip that I saw of you standing there, you know, at the aid site, which obviously I want to hear about, but you know, the before and after the cameras are rolling. What are you seeing? What are you experiencing?
So I've actually been to Israel 5 times.
Oh, wow. Look at you.
Not to flex, but
hey,
the first time I went was before the war.
Right.
So after October 7th, I was mortified. I was so mortified by the fact that within 10 hours, the entire media narrative had flipped.
Yeah.
And that was, again, going back to, I started realizing, like, this is the modern version. This propaganda we're seeing is the modern version of what I just learned about at the Holocaust Museum. And I always said, if I was a part of the civil rights movement, I would have, or if I was alive in that era, I would have stood on business. And if I was on the other side of it, I would have tried to be an ally and help save people, you know? So when I saw that this was happening, I was like, there's no way I'm going to be on the wrong side of history when it comes to this. And I just started standing 10 toes down on it, and all the hate came with it before then all of a sudden, boom, it's like the Jews found me overnight one day on WhatsApp, and then I started having support. But as soon as October 7th happened, I actually tried to go to Israel because I wanted to prove that what was happening was real. I wanted to do a documentary, and I was this close to going the week after October 7th, but logistically it just didn't work out. So I was able to go 90 days after in early January, and I did a whole documentary where we went to the Gaza Strip and I interviewed people. I learned what happened. I watched the 47-minute film, and it was like the first time I ever looked evil directly in the eye. And it just lit a fire in me like no other, where it made me realize, like, oh my gosh, like, this is so much deeper than just elections. This is good versus evil. Yeah. And it was really this catalyst of me becoming 10 times more passionate about everything I was already doing, but just on a much bigger scale. So since then, I've been back multiple times for various purposes, but this most recent time I went back was when I went actually into Gaza.
Yeah. Because
everybody kept telling me that the humanitarian aid wasn't there. So I was like, you know what? I will spin the block and I will actually go in there, which it developed so quickly. When I was talking to people about the opportunity to go there, it was seeming more and more unlikely. And then when I got the call being like, hey, we actually can take you in, they're like, are you ready to go? That's why I was wearing those aloe hoochie daddy shorts, because I was not prepared to go over to Gaza and see the aid. But I proved it. I'm like, hey, here's the aid. And to this day, people get mad at me for that video. They're like, how dare you go there? I'm like, and do what? Expose that they're lying to you? Like, God forbid I go there and actually show the receipts. But now people take it as far as saying it's AI, or they'll say that I had a green screen and that I actually wasn't there. It's like, you can't win with these people. But a lot of people finally did wake up and be like, okay, maybe they are lying about this whole starvation narrative. So I'm very proud of that video.
We're proud of it too, by the way. How much did you get to see beyond just what like we can see on camera in that clip? Is that all they allowed you to go and see and be walk through, or were you exposed to any more of that environment?
I wanted as many people to see it as possible. So I was like, I'm going to make it provocative. And that's why I said the IDF's not DoorDash. What do you expect? This food is right here. There's energy right there. If Gaza would have gotten it together and not elected a terrorist organization, maybe you would have food and energy. But that ended up getting so much backlash, particularly from Europe. That video went very viral with European outlets, like tens of millions of views and thousands of death threats later. But hey, did it work? Did people see the aid? My mission was accomplished.
Do the death threats bother you? Do they seem real? Or is it, losers in their basements?
It's mostly losers in their basements, but when they are credible, I go to the police because I am a snitch. I love to snitch.
Oh, it feels good.
Yeah. Oh, it feels so good to snitch. And I live in a very safe Caucasian neighborhood too. So it's like all I have to do is dial 911 and the police are at my door these days. So don't try it.
Is that who you'll call for like an internet scare? Is you'll call your local PD?
Depends on the depth of the threat and depends on what they send me. Because now I have some connects if they really need to figure out where you are. And also it's kind of like to call if they're saying that they're on their way to my house right now, it's like sometimes I just have to let the police know there might be a cleanup, because trust, it's going to be a shootout.
Hey. Not going quietly, we know that.
I know that's right.
Obviously the Democratic Party is shifting hugely in terms of their stance on Israel in a very alarming way. But we're also even seeing among Republicans that there's more anti-Israel rhetoric coming out of there than we've heard from the Republican Party in a while. Are you seeing that? And if so, what are the conversations like with some of your fellow folks on the right with whom you disagree on this?
So first with the left, they're definitely going much more progressive and socialist, which is scary to me.
Yeah.
Because my hot take as someone that works with the White House, works with the Trump admin, I want the Democratic Party to be better. I want them to improve, because the thing is if they actually improved, then it would keep Republicans accountable and not getting too comfortable. I wish elections were more about how do we win as a country rather than just winning as a party. That's why we're so screwed right now. It's because it's so tribal. Yeah. It's like we're all Americans at the end of the day. And I want to fight for the rights and the well-being of people on the left just as much as on the right. So as we see them become more progressive and frankly delusional, it's sad to see the anti-Semitic, growth that's happening over there, which is why I feel like my audience, it's not even just like hard right anymore. I feel like I have a lot of moderate left and people that are sane liberals that follow me, because they realize that it's like this whole thing of you guys glorifying terrorists. You have people like Hassan Piker saying we deserve 9/11. You have all these people apologizing and defending Hamas literally. It's like that's terrifying to see. Now over on the right, it's a bit more complicated, because the right has a lot more diversity and is a lot bigger of a tent than the left is.
When you say diversity, do you mean like ideologic diversity?
Yes, a lot more ideological diversity. So, but when it comes to our actual politicians and the people that actually have power, rather than just quote unquote influence, they're pretty aligned with Israel. Like when I go to DC and I talk to different politicians or people who work as staffers on campaigns, things of that nature, pretty much majority of them, if they're not full-blown Zionist, they at least have survival instinct enough to know, hey, maybe we should fight the radical Islamic Brotherhood. Like, they're pretty aligned on that.
I used to say what you just said about the Democratic Party, and would have said that until recently, until like the most recent Block the Bombs Bernie Senate vote, when the majority of the Democrats voted against Israel for the first time, which had never happened. So I don't know that that's necessarily locked in stone what that you're seeing on the right, because it certainly wasn't on the left, and I thought it would be.
Well, I agree with you there, because it's definitely a dangerous slippery slope, because you have these people that are influential to the masses. Some of these big names like Tucker and Nick and Candace, etc., who are trying to demonize Israel and demonize the Jewish community. Now, the thing is, though, is like luckily those people don't have power. They have a lot of influence, but they don't have power. When it comes to those kind of people, what I love is that President Trump finally is putting his foot down. Because I've been a part of a lot of briefings. I've been a part of a lot of different messaging calls where they ask, what is it that we need to do? I'm like, we need to make it clear those people are not MAGA. The people like Candace, Alex Jones, Nick, they are not MAGA. They are so alt-right that they are really on the alt-left. And when these people tell you who they are, believe them. You have someone like Nick Fuentes that literally before the election was saying to go vote for Kamala Harris. So why do people think that he represents Trump voters? Someone like Tucker Carlson is constantly demonizing President Trump and constantly demonizing his stance with Israel. So no, it's like, are you right wing or are you actually just on some alternate sector? And like, yes, they are popular figures, but a lot of them, I feel like people are just following the train wreck that they are. Someone like Candace, I feel like a lot of people are watching what she's saying right now because it's just pure entertainment how insane it is. And someone like Nick, that's for sure the case because Nick Fuentes doesn't actually represent anything that he pretends to. So the fact that he, like his own audience knows that he is nothing like the demographic he pretends to be, it's like, you're just a satire show at this point. So, and those kind of people also don't leave their basements. The people who actually do love what they're saying, they don't really vote. They're not a part of greater conversations in society. They stay in their basements. They're miserable and they're in their own little bubble. So I'm not too concerned about them, but I do think that we need to always make sure that we are aware of their existence and continuing to distance ourselves from them. It's kind of like mowing the lawn. You have to make sure it's maintained.
A couple more Jewish things. I know you've been to Shabbat. You've been to Israel. I know you've been to a Jewish wedding because I was there with you.
Yes, sir.
In Mexico City. We had an awesome time. Shout out to Joe and Lauren, the newlyweds. And you also recently, I know, went to Seder with our mutual friend Montana Tucker.
Yes.
Shout out to Montana, one of the first guests we ever had on the pod.
A skinny legend.
A skinny legend. How was that experience?
So good.
Was that your first Seder or you were like an old hat now?
That was my first Seder.
Okay, first Seder.
Yeah, that was amazing. Food was great. The vibes were great. The Jewish people just get me.
Yeah.
They just get it.
Yeah.
They're just cool people. I really just love hanging out with the Jews.
We love hanging out with you, man. Let's keep it going.
I mean, it's always a good time. And it's like, they're like-minded people. It was fun. I just love learning more about other people's cultures. I've always just had that fixation, especially since I grew up in like such a barren cornfield with not that much culture. I just love learning about people's traditions. So it was a really cool experience.
I love that. You've said before that it makes sense for Black and Jewish communities to stand together. Why do you feel that way?
We have a lot of the same enemies. You know, Black and Jewish people have been fighting the same people for a very long time. And, you know, historically speaking, we owe a lot to each other. I feel like we've always had each other's back until there became this conscious effort to try to divide us. You look at the civil rights movement, like who was actually fighting for Black people? It was largely the Jewish community. When Black people couldn't get jobs, Jewish people were hiring us and vice versa. So it's like, it makes sense in a lot of ways. And I feel like we're the two communities that are really like the it girl. Like, I feel like Jews and Black people, like the general public is kind of obsessed with us. Like we're kind of the tastemakers. We're the movers and the shakers. We're the innovators. We are the people that really make things cool. And I feel like we make magic together. There's so many different things throughout history that if you look and people are like, oh my gosh, that era was so cool, or this whole situation was so cool. The two people that were creating it were Black people and Jewish people. So on a deeper level and in a, you know, more historical level, both, it just makes sense for us to be aligned. And there's also a lot more overlap than people like to realize. Like, people are so blown away by the concept of like Black Jewish people. So the fact that people try to act like Jewish people are white supremacists, it's so damning to me. It's so sad to me.
Yeah. The data is pretty clear that of the ethnic groups most likely to have anti-Semitic beliefs, Black people are at the top of that list. Why do you think that is?
A lot of the resentment that Black people have towards Jewish people, it's coming from two different things, but really it's based in one. So it's coming from that same scarcity mindset that we're indoctrinated with, where a lot of Black people are raised to believe that if I don't have something or if I'm struggling socioeconomically, that I have to be mad at people that I perceive as being at the top. And because there are a lot of successful Jewish people, it's very easy for Black people to demonize them and be like, you have this so that I can't and I'm oppressed. They're not taught in the Black community like different ways that they can get out of their situation or make their situation better. Instead, they're told to play the victim, have this glass ceiling, have this Marxist perspective of when they look in the mirror, they're oppressed, and then they, of course, have to blame an oppressor. The other part of that is just blatant Marxism. Marxism is at the scene of the crime when it comes to all of this. And when you have organizations like BLM, long before, October 7th popped off, BLM has been talking about free Palestine for years. They have been on that Marxist agenda, and they've been very clear about the fact that they're on the Marxist agenda.
When you say the Marxist agenda, what does that mean in practice, like right now in America? Like, what do you mean? What is it that they're pursuing?
Well, I would say right now what you're seeing the most with Marxism is, one, they're trying to destroy all things law and order and turn our country to communism. But ultimately what you're seeing that's playing out right now is the whole Marxist, communist, Islamic alliance that's happening, where the face of that, right in the middle of that Venn diagram, is Zohran Mamdani, where you were seeing people trying to destroy everything that Western civilization stands for. And that's what's very scary to me. And that's why I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you don't have to be a Zionist and love the Jews as much as I do, but at least have the survival instinct to realize that there are people around this world, millions of people around this world, that want to see the destruction of capitalism and Westernism and Jews and Christians and everything that it is that we love in this world. They don't want us to have free speech. They don't want women to walk around without the burlap sacks. They want to see our entire society demoralized. And that's what BLM is all about, which is why you saw them pushing for anarchy, which is why you saw them destroying law and order, which is why you saw them encouraging people to go and destroy the homes and the businesses, even within Black communities, because it's all about tearing down everything. So instead of elevating everyone, it's like, let's just make everybody dirt poor, let's make everybody miserable and everybody equally broke, rather than rising the tide that raises all ships.
What do you wish both the Jewish and Black community understood better about each other?
I guess I wish that both understood the context of why our communities move in certain ways. It's like with Black people, we have been systemically disempowered for so long. When systemic racism ended, it turned into disempowerment, where we were constantly told, to be resentful. We were constantly told we should depend on welfare. We shouldn't try to make our situations better. We had our homes broken up, and a lot of that came from the Democratic Party. And that is why so many of us need to break out of that mold. And I feel like, again, like I was saying, if Black people were taking maybe some notes from the Jewish community of maybe we shouldn't be tearing each other down, because in a room full of Black people, that they view me as competition more than most white people will ever view me as competition, because there's this mindset of there can only be one successful Black person. But in the Jewish community, it's the opposite of that. It's like, how can we elevate our brothers and sisters? How can we make the people around us, do better? So I wish that common ground was understood more. And with Black people and Jewish people, I wish that more Black people understood what the Jewish people represent. And I love the entire concept of this podcast being Jewish, because it's getting Jewish people to express more about who they are rather than just defending themselves about who they're not.
Yeah.
Because when you're always on defense, you're not showing one who's on offense, and you're not really showcasing the actual values and the principles that you stand for. Like, something that I really love about the Jewish community is just like how much effort there is into just preserving life and preserving the integrity of your brothers and sisters, like condemning embarrassing people. Something that blew my mind was this story. There was some park or something we went to where there were a bunch of young trees planted. And the story behind it was that all these missiles came in, all these rockets came in, made all these holes and, these craters. And they were teaching the kids, where they bring the hate, we bring life. So they planted the trees to be symbolic. If the Black community, it's obviously not all Black people,
of course.
But because you have to clarify that these days, because people love a generalization. But if more Black people understood how much Jewish people actually love to help and love to just embrace humanity as a whole, I think there would be a lot more understanding.
Yeah. It was funny hearing you say a moment ago, like, something you wish the Black community would learn from the Jewish community. I'm always saying I wish the Jewish community would learn from the Black community how to celebrate yourself and your own culture and your own, have that self-respect and dignity. And, I'll always be like, the Black community didn't wait for racism to end to start going about their business while working on that stuff. And I feel like a lot of Jews feel now today is like frozen. Like, well, we got to do the fighting first, and then we can think about, well, what do we love about being Jewish, and like putting the good stuff and the celebration out into the world. And so something I'll say is, look at those guys. That's what we got to do what they're doing.
I think a lot of communities don't brag enough.
Yeah.
one of my notorious walk with me videos was about Asian supremacy because I learned I was 2% Chinese and it became an entire personality trait for me. And I just started talking all the mess that the Asian community wasn't saying. It's like when it comes to pretty much every good and positive metric, they are at the top. They're skinny, they're healthy, they're educated, they're successful. The Asians are crushing it in so many different metrics. And I'm like, why are you one of the, outside of just the humility aspect?
Well, there's definitely a cultural thing of staying quiet.
Brag.
Yeah.
I need y'all to start talking your shit.
Yes.
I need y'all to start making sure that people know exactly who you are and to put some respect on your name. And it's the same with the Jewish community. Y'all don't brag enough.
I agree.
Because if people don't like me now with what I stand for, they would hate me if I was Jewish because I would be talking shit. I'd be talking shit. I would be talking shit. Because imagine being mad at me and my community because we got it together. Imagine being mad because you've been trying to wipe us out for thousands of years and we're still here. And I would dare somebody radical and Islamic to try me because I would look them right in the eye and be like, you have been mad at us ever since Ishmael was jealous of Isaac. So for thousands of years, you Muslims have been angry at the Jews because your mama was broke and your mama got banished. I know the history. I know the theology. I know the receipts behind it. So how dare you be mad at me because your bloodline was basically doomed from day one? That has nothing to do with me. My bad. Maybe if you were smart and acted like a fan of the chosen people, you'd be in a better situation right now. But instead, you are being typecast and showcased as terrorists. Sorry. Oh, they would hate me. I'd be talking shit every day.
If you want in, man, I know some rabbis. We can make it happen.
Look, I'm already ish.
You are ish. You're as ish as you can be. You let me know, and I got a direct line to the people who make it happen.
I learned to have a little Igbo in me too. That's a story for that's a hot take. That's a hot take about some of the Igbo lineage.
Do you want to go there?
Well, yeah, I learned that a lot of Igbo people actually descend from Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the Igbo tribe of Nigeria are actually Jewish. And a lot of them are still practicing Judaism, but they have to do so for the most part in secrecy. Otherwise, they're going to be persecuted or outcast from society. And it's funny, shout out to Rudy Rockman. He was the one who actually pointed that out to me that I was Igbo. Because
how did he know?
I did ask him. So
did you do like a DNA test?
There I was minding my own business as per usual during Shabbat in Jerusalem, eating some good oxtail. Shout out to my girl Chaya. And she loves your podcast, by the way.
Oh, thanks, Chaya. Shout out to you.
Mm-hmm. I just noticed that Rudy kept staring at me. And I was like, Rudy, why are you so obsessed with me? Why are you looking at me like that? And he goes, you're Jewish. And I was like, sir? I'm like, I'm trying. I'm like, okay, like, are you just funny? He goes, no, I'm serious. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said, I've never told this story, mind you. He says to me, have you done a DNA test? I was like, yes, I did one a long time ago. And he goes, what did it say? I was like, oh, I got some Nigerian. I'm sure that's like my Haitian bourgeoisie background. They came from Nigeria, yada, yada. He goes, go back and look. Go back and look specifically what it says. I'm like, okay. I'm like, and why do you think that? And he went on this whole tirade. And I had some wine in me. It was Shabbat. I was having a good time.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me go pull up my 23andMe. And I opened my 23andMe and my Nigerian section, which was like 60%. I open it, and of all the tribes, there's like hundreds of Nigerian tribes. It was exclusively Igbo. And then I was like, is this why I had deja vu when I was in Israel the first time? Am I from Mount Sinai?
Whoa, you were there.
And I'm not saying that just blatantly makes me Jewish.
Of course.
But it does make me wonder, did some of my bloodline come from Israel?
That's so interesting. And have you like looked more into and like educated yourself more about the Igbo people since then?
I have.
Yeah.
And I love the Talmud.
Yes.
You know why?
Why?
I love the Talmud because the concept of asking questions about the same topic until there's no more foundation and floor there. Because that Talmudic way of thinking is why the Jews are so successful, especially as like lawyers and doctors and innovators, because you're constantly thinking about every single sector and approach to the same problem or to the same question. When you are learning that critical thinking skill set, which a lot of people lack in today's day and age, the ability to ask the right questions and to go into depth on something, having that skill set is just completely fundamental to a successful community or to successful demographic. And when it comes to the Igbo people, I'm like, I wonder, is it just the way your brain is wired? Because you have this in your DNA.
If you just heard that noise, that means we just finished 5 deep questions. Xavier blew my mind. I learned some stuff. We got really into it about racism in America. Does it still exist? This was good stuff. You're going to want to hear it. And the only way to do that is if you join our Kehila, our subscriber-only community. I mean, I'm going to listen to that one back. That was some good stuff. All right, so we're going to end it, as we always do, with a game. You are well known for your hot takes, sir. So I would love to hear some hot takes from you, but we're going to do Hot Takes Jewish edition. Oy! I'm going to throw some stuff at you, and you just give me your hot take on it.
Okay.
That's it. Passover Seder.
Lit. Great food, great vibes. Montana Tucker is skinny.
You are maybe the first person in history to say Passover Seder, great food, is the first thing that come out of your mouth.
Oh, they were throwing down in the kitchen.
All right, we'd love to hear it. Orthodox women wearing wigs to not distract other men with their natural hair.
That's a thing?
Oh, it's a thing.
See, that doesn't even make sense because all you were doing is showcasing a different style. Does it make you inherently unattractive?
I am not qualified to speak to it specifically, so I don't want to like upset anybody, but I mean it's basically that it's like only your husband should be able to see you like truly as you are, and that the rest is, you know, hidden from everybody else.
I mean, as a black man, I'm very pro wig anyway. I mean,
it's another thing we got in common.
Yeah, all the girls are wearing wigs, so I can't hate. I'm a wigologist, dare I say. Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Right.
I think it's just extra effort for no reason.
Extra, very extra. Strokes, the band, the Strokes, lead singer Julian Casablanca saying all Zionists are white people who think they're being treated like black slaves.
First of all, I'm offended that they're saying that all Zionists are white people because I, again, am one of the blackest people in LA County, and I very much am a Zionist, and I do not think that I'm a slave.
Yeah, so, I mean, is this going to affect your enjoyment of the band The Strokes?
Who? What genre is that?
You're joking, right?
I have no idea who that is.
You've heard of The Strokes. Last night she said, oh baby, don't feel so down. Big hit, no? Jews who claim other Jews as part of the tribe, even when those Jews don't affiliate with us, like, say, Timothy Chalamet.
Timothy Chalamet is Jewish?
Technically, but the guy doesn't do anything or say anything or, like, identify.
Really?
Yeah.
Timothy Chalamet is hood.
What do you mean?
Have you seen his rap video?
Rap?
He's a little gangsta. Oh, yeah.
Like from 20 years ago or like recent?
No, Timothy Chalamet is notoriously known for being like a little ghetto.
I didn't know that.
But all that to say, I think that you should still embrace them as being a part of the tribe. You have to keep the door open for when they're ready to make aliyah, whether it's literally to Israel or coming back to their Jewish roots. You know, it's sad because a lot of people completely lost touch with their Jewish identity until October 7th.
Yeah.
And I hope Timothy Chalamet doesn't have a big wake-up call like that. But, you know, be always willing to embrace them back home.
I love that. What's your hot take on self-hating Jews like Seth Rogen?
What is it going to take for you to realize that not the entire world, but so much of the world is against you simply for your existence? You probably should stand on business. And imagine fumbling the bag of being God's chosen people. Again, if I was known, my community was known as God's chosen people, you would never hear the end of it from me. I'd be talking mad shit about it. So for him to be out there hating himself, it's like, come on, get your life together. Please. It's so embarrassing.
I agree. Iconic hip-hop footwear Timberlands being founded by a Ukrainian Jew.
Once again, the Jews always have the black community's back. We've
right.
always been there for each other because black people love Timbs. I don't know what the chokehold is of Timbs on the black community, but we have never been freed from it.
It's the literal embodiment of Jews supporting black people.
Yeah, walking in each other's shoes.
There you go. All right, and the last hot take. What's your take on there being too many Jewish podcasts?
I think that there are too many podcasts, period. I wish that these mics cost $100,000 because not everybody needs a podcast, okay? When you came into the game, I was like, period, because it was overdue. Because I told you before, I saw your Jubilee appearance before you even had this podcast, and I was like, this guy needs to be on the mic. But majority of them, hang it up. Hang it up.
Hang it up. You heard it here. Xavier, thank you so much. This has been awesome. It's been so great getting to know you and your mindset and what drives you. On behalf of the Jewish people, so grateful and psyched to have you as an ally, as a friend at our Shabbat table and sitting across from me. So thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Big thank you to my pal Xaviaer DuRousseau for joining me today. He and I are living proof that it doesn't matter if you're white or black, Christian or Jewish, liberal or conservative. We all enjoy making fun of everybody else. If you're a regular, thank you. I love you. And if you're new here, welcome. Stick around. We got a lot more coming your way. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And I'll see you right back here for the next respectful episode of Being Jewish with me, Jonah Platt.